Samuel Dami was asking whether I was weeping for corruption in Ghana. I think I had some effects by the air condition, but all well and good. Let me introduce my guests in the studio. That is a guest panel of experts as far as the financial matters and the economy are concerned. We expect that by the end of the show, you will be educated to properly understand what the budget really means and the implications for you. My guest, Dr. Eric Osai-Sibe. He's senior lecturer, Department of Economics, and acting head, Department of Distance Education, University of Ghana, and he's an adjunct fellow of the IEA. Doc, good morning. Welcome. Good morning. Always good to have you. Dr. Said Bwachi, a senior research fellow, Institute of Fiscal Studies, IFS. You must have heard about them. Such a huge body when it comes to dealing with the economy and matters about figures. Doc, good morning once again. I remember the last time you were on the show, it was about the budget. Yeah. Right, good to have you. Now, the Honorable Kweku Kwating is MP for Boise West and member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. Welcome, Honorable. And Isaac Adongo is MP for Bolgatanga Central, and he's a financial analyst or a financial person. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Great. Right. So before we deal with the economy and the matters of finance, but Samuel Dami, you see, Otiko Jaba won't be happy with you. You have a full man panel. That's not too good because we have International Women's Day coming up. Otiko Jaba won't be happy about you because she's doing all sorts of stuff to assist in this direction. Well, I understand that on Monday, the SMS is going to be taken over by women, some of my favorite women. So maybe that's where you get her some consolation. I understand the Vice President's wife, the Second Lady, is going to be the host. Joyce Aye will be on the show, and the Electoral Commissioner, Commission Chair, will be on the show, and a host of Mona Kote will also be there. Interesting. Can't wait for Monday for the morning show. Right. So, gentlemen, let's quickly look at our preliminary matter, and it has to do with the payment of almost 450,000 cedis into the personal account of the PURC's boss, the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission's boss, Samuel Sapong's account in 2013. And it's become such a big issue. The payments were done in 2013 of is it July and February, and eyebrows are being raised. These were monies that were generated from monies that were supposed to be given to the entity for purposes of, tariff review consultations. In fact, the Asante Hinotu 482's name also pops up as far as a recipient of some amounts in that direction. Having read the particular story and investigations by Kwete Nate of Joy News, what do you have to say? I'll start with you, Isaac.
Well, good morning. Good morning to your cherished viewers, particularly my constituents, Bolgatanga Central constituency. I think I have very scanty information on this because merely saying some monies have been transferred to somebody's account isn't an adequate description of the events. And so it will be good to have a broader picture about what was the money meant for, how did it happen. And so then from there we can properly interrogate the issue. But speaking merely from a point that some money from an institution has been transferred to somebody's account, I think that the information isn't adequate to be able to make an objective analysis.
So the question was asked on the basis that you, as part of our research material, you supplied you some information that will give you sufficient background to be able to deal with the issue. But let me just do this quickly. Let me read just a portion of the story that was done by Kweti Nete. It says, Joy News has uncovered questionable payments at utilities regulators, the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, PURC. The findings include a transfer of close to 500,000 cedis into the personal account of the Executive Secretary of the PURC, Samuel Sapong, in the first of a series of reports of an audit of financial records at the Commission. Joy News' Kweti Nete reports that some curious expenditure has been noticed. An amount of 435,087 cedis, made up of two separate transfers, were made into the personal accounts of the Executive Secretary of the PURC. The money was part of 1,022,500 paid by 5 major utility companies to the PURC for the 2013 tariff review hearings nationwide. The funds were supposed to be lodged into the account of the PURC. However, documents cited by Joy News indicate that the said amounts had been lodged into the personal accounts of the head, former head of finance at PURC, Isaac Asson, who made the payments into the account, said he did this on the instructions of the Executive Secretary. We have seen internal memos that speak about the expenses and so on. So this is the question that's really.
Does it tell you what the expenses are?
Okay, so these were, as I indicated earlier, this was supposed to be money to assist tariff review hearings. We have heard the finance officer suggest that, well, the money, he was instructed to put the money in the boss's personal account. The boss seemed to suggest that the money ought to have been taken to Kumasi for certain purposes, but he wasn't available, the finance officer wasn't available to carry the money along or to do the transaction. So they asked him to put the money into his personal account so that it will be used for those purposes. Now, as someone who deals in this area of finance, how prudent is such a dealing to put such money into the personal accounts of?
Well, I think first we have to understand that from a procedural perspective. If, for instance, I'm a budget holder and I'm going to run a workshop, and we agree that as per the procedure, service providers will be paid directly, but allowances of participants have to be paid on the table. Then it stands to reason that some withdrawals will have to be made to be carried, the fiscal cash to be carried there.
Right.
Now the challenge is, if I'm the one carrying the cash, I have the discretion to decide on the basis of safety that I will want to carry cash with me in my car to Kumasi. I'll probably put it in my bank account and withdraw it when I get to Kumasi to finance the transaction. That will be fairly legitimate.
Okay.
But if it is that the entire bulk of money, including what should go to service providers, I have been paid into my bank account, or I have taken all of that and put it into my bank account, then questions arise, because then one of the reasons why you want to be able to pay to service providers directly is to eliminate conflict of interest, is to eliminate opportunities that may arise for somebody to do an underhand dealing with the service provider. And so those ones you want to pay directly, and normally that is what the procedure is. But if I am somebody who have to go and pay allowances or per diem to participants of the program, and you give me the money that I'm supposed to use to do that, I may be tempted to put it in bank account because of the safety concerns. Of course, if somebody finds that money in my bank account without explanation, he will be a bit suspicious that how come I'm probably the accountant, or I'm a senior person in this organization, and suddenly you find so much money in my account. One of the challenges I have with this arrangement is the fact that it is the utilities that are funding this activity.
Right.
That raises very serious questions of neutrality, because the PURC is a regulator, and the regulator must find a way to be properly funded in order that it doesn't depend on the people that it wants to regulate to finance its activities. So when you find utilities and institutions that are being regulated by a regulator funding the regulator's activity, then you have a bigger risk of probably being compromised in dealing with the substance. So in terms of the monies into the account, I believe that a lot more understanding of the documentation will give a fairer response. So I think that is my view.
Parliament, and the Energy Subcommittee is inviting them to appear before it to explain this particular expenditure, including one other, which is about a procurement of a software for the commission, and you know, the amount of 200,000, you know, already spent on what is said not to work. It's non-functional, and Parliament is inviting them to come and to explain. So it looks like there are a couple of issues there that they need to really explain.
Yeah, I think I'm very happy that this step has been taken, because the Parliament has oversight responsibility for what is happening there. And so the Mines and Energy Committee would be able to ask all the relevant questions, right, and be able to find the answers that we're all asking for.
Okay.
In the end, it is value for money that is more important. It is to eliminate the opportunities that may exist for abuse of public funds and to protect the public purse. So I believe that a thorough job will be done, and in the end, we'll get to the bottom of this matter.
Okay. Yeah. Now, maybe I should come to Mr. Kwating. Yes, what do you have to say about these developments?
Well, first good morning to viewers and listeners, and also good morning to my constituents.
All right.
Hopefully I'll be home on Monday to be part of the independence commemorations. Something, my thoughts on this are not very different from the thoughts shared by my good friend here, Honorable Adongo. We need more information in respect of the transfer. What is it for? How much exactly? They said the amount was something in the neighborhood of 50.
Almost, you know, half a million.
Yes, 50,000.
500,000, 400 and something thousand.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, about 500,000. Let's put it that way. That's a lot of money, and we ought to know exactly why it had to be. The money had to be sent by that means, and then we'll take it off from there.
There were expenses that were made for per diems, for allowances. The per diems, we were told about some 86,000, some 32,000 cedis for hotel accommodation, and then there was a 20,000 as protocol payment to the Asante.
I get that. The reason I say that, as Adongo indicated, we need to get more information on this is that those payments that are said to have been made, is it not possible that they might have been made even before the money was transferred? All these things happen. Once something is uncovered and we begin to question, then people begin to now find reasons why the wrong happened, and they will begin to attribute expenditures to some particular transfer that really did not come from those transfers. That is why I hope that the investigation into this would bring us the whole truth. But equally importantly, and it's even probably more serious, that PURC has a mandate. And if you look at the PURC Act, it seeks to make them fairly autonomous so that they'll have the independence to be able to protect the interests of consumers and producers. Now, if PURC found it necessary to review tariff and found it necessary to do consultation, and you are asking people with such interest, the producers, you are asking them to finance this exercise, and you think they would finance the exercise and have an outcome that they probably would disagree with. Plus, the information I got, and I got it from the media discussions, that the payment from the utility, the producers to PURC was by cash. There's everything wrong with this. And it is when I combine that with the transfer of money into individual accounts that I really begin to get scared. Why should it be? If these are big corporate bodies. If they found it necessary, let's say, even if we decided to accept that, and they found it necessary to transfer money to support PURC in this, which is a clear conflict of interest arrangement.
Yeah. And the amount, as you say, is almost, you know, 500,000 Ghana cedis.
Yeah, I want to know.
And yet, the internal memo that is discovered speaks of an approval by the PURC for 164,000 to cover the expenses of the stakeholder consultations.
It would appear that a lot, so much is happening at at PURC, yeah? And we probably have to just go there and see the road that probably must be happening. You combine that with this source in IT services. IT, what is urgent about it? The Procurement Act is clear of the circumstances under which you can source. And IT services, it was so urgent, or that there was only one vendor that could do it, that it had to be sourced. Let's see what the investigations will come up with. But there's everything wrong with what has happened, and if the power producers are listening to this program, they should never do this. Okay. Give money to PURC to determine prices that will be fair to them and to consumers.
Okay, so Dr. Said, the two of them, politicians but experts in their own rights, agree with the auditors and the questions they have raised. I don't know what you say.
No, I also agree with them. These are serious issues, because about 500,000 Ghana cedis is not a small amount of money to be found in an individual's account. It beats our understanding what this should happen. There's the organization's account. It could clearly be placed over there, and the boss has access to the account. Why should he leave the account of the organization into the boss's account? And like what they are saying, if these monies are coming from the utility companies, it looks like, and it is found to be true, it looks like consumers' interests are being compromised here, and it's a very serious issue, because we all count on PURC to protect our interests when it comes to tariffs. No wonder probably tariffs are going up so high frequently. If it is serving the interest of the producers, definitely we consumers are going to suffer.
Interesting. Dr. Sesbe, what do you say?
Well, yes, I support my colleagues here, but I think once too many. Recent times we have had, the news about PURC has not been good at all. We've heard about this 30 million Ghana cedis for drilling boreholes some few months ago, and just recently this. I don't know what is happening there, but I think all of this needs some kind of forensic auditing or investigation to really go deeper into that. But this raises a lot of issue even about the whole mandate of PURC, particularly now that we are moving towards deregulatory environment. You know, this is a regulatory institution to regulate the public utility sectors. Now we're saying we're going for deregulations. Now, what is the role this institution going to play in the midst of this deregulation? I think the time has come that we all look at how to reform PURC to make it relevant, you know, in this new era or in this new deregulatory regime, because they seem to be deviating or moving away from their core function of regulating prices and making sure consumers' interests are protected and all of that. And with the formula, adjusted, what we call the pricing formula is to work, you know, their role, you know, somewhat diminishes, you know, where government doesn't have to fix the price, but the price has to be determined by the forces of the market, the demand and supply factors and the efficiency levels and all that. Then critically, we don't really need that kind of mediating to fix prices, which then we are going back to the regulatory regime. And so we really need to look at their functions well within this deregulatory environment and see how to make them more relevant for consumers. Thank you very much.
Probably before you continue, I want to add that now it is the turn of PURC and you are talking about it. But in fact, last year we carried a study into the statutory funds. And we found out that, in fact, this kind of thing is almost universal in the country. Very common. And something serious has to be done.
Is it because the audit processes doesn't punish them? Thankfully, we're going to have the surcharges and disallowances that Occupy Ghana has been championing. We understand that this auditor, a controller and accountant general, is very serious about that. Okay.
And it's also, I mean, clearly indicate the lack of adherence to the Public Financial Management Act. You know, if we are really following the PFMA, well, many of these things will not happen. The weakness within the Public Financial Management System, you know, I think
right. So I was actually referring to the Auditor General, who is very committed to ensuring that there's disallowances, there is surcharges for people who misuse the public purse, and the matters go to the Public Accounts Committee, and we just hear all the, you know, disgraceful and shameful stuff, and it ends there. Nothing really happens. And again, the issue of corruption. Courts were set up specifically to deal with this, and yet the people who sit on the Public Accounts Committee kept complaining that there are no specific courts for them, but the Chief Justice has set up courts. And as at the end of sometime middle of last year, not a single matter from there had been taken to those specialized courts. Anyway.